wanting to get a real shower, not a Gatorade bath, because I want to get focused on Alabama. They got a 5-6 hour head start, so I'm not. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not interested in celebrating that. We'll look back on that win, and that'll be great. But we're focused on the task ahead. That's the objective, and that's what our guys. They worked their tail off for 3 to 4 weeks to get this opportunity, and it was a 1-game season, and now it's another 1-game season. I'm not focused on Gatorade baths.
Josh, do you support some kind of mandatory cooling off period for injured players before returning to the game, or is that something it's just a reality of the sport in this era?
You know what's crazy is the officials wanted that tonight. I thought that was pretty comical that they came up and said that to me.
That feeling of tomorrow morning and you're University of Arkansas and you're in our state Arkansas, and you're proud of the Razorbacks, that's what I felt whenever, they were giving KJ his trophy and the team ours, and to be Outback Bowl champions with 9 wins. I'm really, really proud of our team with what we've accomplished. 2 of the teams that beat us also were pretty good last night, so we play in a heck of a league, and I'm proud to be, and I said it a long time ago, we're in the SEC West right where Arkansas belongs, and we're starting to prove that.
I mean, the anticipation of the Mayo bath, and then I got hammered in the back of the head by the cooler before they dumped it on me, so I may have a concussion from that, and then on top of that I got the Mayo, and it was awful, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm so glad I got to experience it because we won, but it was even more awful than I thought it would be, to be honest with you. I mean, these pants and I changed shirts, but it's I mean, I got Mayo in my pockets, and I'll be getting Mayo off of me for months.
Oh, welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter, and I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Where's that beer at?
Oh man, you know what? I'm fighting COVID still. I'm still dealing with this Tennessee loss, New Year's resolutions, everything. I said, you know what? Let me just hold off on the beer for a little bit. Let me get my body right, then we can dig in. I was afraid if I came in here in a drunken stupor, I'd start talking about the ACC refs again, and I didn't want to do that. So it was a good weekend for SEC football. Not all the programs, but Mike, I'm doing well. How about yourself, brother?
Oh, man, I could not be doing – well, I was about to say I couldn't be doing better. We'll get to that Tennessee game. If not for that, I would be doing better. But beyond that, I'm doing great, Shane, because we got us, as predicted, an SEC National Championship game, which gives us 10 more days of great content here coming up before the long-dreaded offseason in the SEC. So let's just start right there. Let's start with the good news, Shane, because after, 4 or 5 days of everybody kicking the SEC overrated, SEC bias, SEC can't play the damn game of football, then the Georgia Bulldogs just destroyed Michigan, and Alabama, wiped the floor with Cincinnati, who probably shouldn't even be in the college football playoff to start with.
Right.
But let's start with that Georgia-Michigan game, Shane, because I think that's the one that kind of, we're in some text threads, Shane, not you or I, but we got buddies in there saying, well, I really like Michigan in this game. And we're sitting here saying, what in the hell? Do we just miss the last 3.5 months of the season where Georgia was dominant? And that was the Georgia we got here in the Orange Bowl, 34-11 win. And, Shane, Michigan, their offensive line won the Offensive Line of the Year award. I thought these were some good offensive linemen. Hell no. 88 rushing yards, a lot of that in junk time. The quarterback that I told you was terrible, he was terrible. 106 passing yards, 2 interceptions. And then the mailman, Stetson Bennett, probably played the best game of his life, Shane. 310 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. And, this is a guy that we've given credit to all season, but this was his best job, I think, all year. Todd Monken, Georgia offensive coordinator. They opened the game with 5 straight scoring possessions, including a touchdown right out the gate Jim Harbaugh, Michigan won the coin toss. They said, we'll kick to Georgia. Well, that was a hell of a mistake because once Georgia went up, they never relented. And, I mean, this was just an ass whipping, and Georgia controlled it from the opening kickoff. What was your thoughts on Georgia just making easy work of Michigan?
Yeah, I was under the impression that Michigan had a couple defensive ends or something. I don't know. That was the storyline, wasn't it? I mean, they painted a pretty picture. Michigan's going to come in there. They're going to give Georgia everything they got. These two defenders, oh, my God, they're the top 10 NFL draft picks. This, blah, blah, blah. And about 10 minutes in, I'm like, this ain't even going to be a ball game, Mike. Georgia just came in there, got their job done, man. And I think the storyline for me was Stetson Bennett, brother. I give him a hard time. Gave him a hard time after that Alabama game. But, you know, what he was able to do with those legs made those defensive ends not a threat at all. Some of those plays, there was that one in particular where you think he's getting sacked. Next thing you know, he's running for 20 yards. It's just this team was playing balls out. And Stetson – what I liked about it is just his patience in the pocket too. I mean, there was a couple of times some people were breathing down his neck, and he was able to capitalize down the field. I mean, some dimes. So that's what I like. Just the poise that I saw from Stetson. This defense did not disappoint. Yes, those the Michigan mobsters that I saw a video of him coming in. They had shirts that said "Run the damn ball," and then it says 39 yards later. Oh man, Michigan didn't belong on the field with the Georgia Bulldogs, and it was quite obvious, especially there at half, Mike.
Yeah, without a doubt. Georgia 4 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, the 2 interceptions we mentioned. I mean, they just destroyed them, like we said. And you know, this was a prove-it game because, you know, coming after that Alabama game, a lot of people had questions. Maybe this Georgia defense overrated. The same unit everyone was hyping up, greatest defense of all time. You know, they clearly didn't look like it in the SEC championship. They found a way to bounce back. Stetson Bennett, like you said, story of the game. Let's not overlook the fact Brock Bowers, Shane. I mean, at this point, we're not amazed by him anymore, but my goodness, Shane, when he takes the field, I know he's a true freshman, but he looks like he's ready for the NFL right now. Too bad for him. He's got to wait 2 more years. You know what? But, I mean, he was making plays left or right. Alabama did a good job kind of, for the most part. I wouldn't even say corralling him, but they just kind of they did their best covering him. It looked like Michigan, maybe they were just unable to guard him, but he had his way in this one. James Cook had himself a hell of a day. And when they utilize Cook in the passing game like they did in this matchup, it's just another weapon for Stetson Bennett and company. And, man, this is the championship. You know, when we watched the SEC championship, we thought, you know, there's clearly no teams better than Alabama, Georgia. And I'm just thankful that we're getting it. You know what?
Yeah. I mean, this is like we had to do this. We had to get this over with. You know, it's like when you look at the Michigan, when you look at the Cincinnati, it's just like, okay, yes, we have to do this, but then let's get down to it. The SEC championship was the best game of the year. The national championship is going to be a repeat, and these two teams are playing the best football they've played in a long time. So I think it's going to be a monumental game, and it starts with the rebound from Georgia, because a lot of people thought that they were going to be down. A lot of people thought that they could have a little hangover, that Michigan could give them a fit. But, man, I don't know about you, Mike, but I'm walking away from that game saying, you know what, Georgia's back. There's a reason that they are favored to win the national championship right now. That front was nasty. I mean, they were thin at defensive backs, and it didn't matter because they didn't have time to get it down the field. So there's little things like that. The running game, the way they were able to move the chains, and they didn't show too much. That's another thing. I was afraid that this game was going to be, you know, we've seen some of this in college football playoffs, like the Oklahoma, when they played against Oklahoma, you know, they had to show everything. So there was nothing to hide coming into a national championship game. It felt like they didn't need to do that this week, and I think that's beneficial, especially for the time when they play Bama again.
Yeah, maybe my favorite thing from the game, Shane, I don't know if you caught this, but they were trying to dump the Gatorade, the bucket, on Kirby. He turned around and says, hell no, this is not what we're playing for. This is not what we're celebrating. We still got one more. So
Come on now.
he's bringing that killer instinct. We all know who is the demon, the Freddy Krueger, the Jason Voorhees, if you will, that they have got to conquer to get to that national championship.
Hey, Kirby, you guys held Michigan without a sack. Obviously, they have some really good pass rushers. And then you guys kind of flipped the script from the Bama game with 4 sacks of your own. What was the key to doing that?
I think we practice against good rushers each day. Jamari and Warren, they listen to everybody talk about those guys rushing, and Jamari and Warren are good pass protectors. They do a nice job, and when they don't, or they give up they give up penetration, Stetson did a good job avoiding. There's a couple times we got beat, even on the touchdown pass. I thought Stetson did an incredible job of getting the ball in the air. We did not block the edge rusher, and he came scot-free, and Stetson got the ball out to James, which was our only, I think, score of the second half. So tremendous job there. Defensively, we generated some better rush. And again, we have to be able to do that to be successful. Was it a magic potion, Mark? I don't think it was a magic potion. We called a lot of the same calls, we called against Alabama, but the quarterback probably didn't escape as good as Alabama's did, and we finished a little better.
Yeah. Hey, Kirby, what sort of happened there with the Gatorade bath at the end, and how quickly do you turn ahead to Alabama now?
Yeah, I was wanting to get a real shower, not a Gatorade bath, because I want to get focused on Alabama. They got a 5-6 hour head start. So I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not interested in celebrating that. We'll look back on that win, and that'll be great, but we're focused on the task ahead. That's the objective. And that's what our guys, they worked their tail off for 3 to 4 weeks to get this opportunity. And it was a 1-game season, and now it's another 1-game season. I'm not focused on Gatorade baths.
Kirby, obviously, as that game gets out of hand, they're not really running the ball. But in the early going, is it any added juice for your defense for a team to face a team that really wants to run the ball? And they say that, they came out early before the game with shirts that said "run the damn ball" on it.
I don't know. I mean, there's a little chip on the shoulder of those defensive guys. I mean, their offense coordinators, the Royals Award over Coach Lanning, who we think did a hell of a job, and their offensive line, Joe Moore Award. And you know what? There's somebody that made that decision that's a lot smarter than me. But we got a hell of an offensive line too. And our guys played with a chip on their shoulder tonight. As DK did on defense, and all the defensive guys did. And they were kind of backed up by a great offensive effort.
Kirby, this is the first time this year your team has had to bounce back from a defeat and face some questions. I'm just wondering if, what this game proved to you and if it answered any questions that you might have had about this team.
I really never had questions. I hate to say that, but I never had questions about this team. The resiliency, the bounce back, the amount of character. I've seen it all year. We didn't play well, and we turned the ball over and didn't get any turnovers and played poor in the red area. I mean, like you can list all the things we did in the last game. That's all our kids have heard about for 3 weeks. Our focus has been on, okay, what can we get better at? Where can we turn our energy? Because it does no good to look backwards. It only does good to look forward. And who is our opponent? We always say you can't let a loss beat you twice. And we didn't let that happen today. And now we get to focus our energy on a really good football team. And that's where we'll turn our head and attention now.
That's what Kirby Smart has got on his mind. So let's get to that other one, Shane. Again, just a complete demolition here. Alabama beats Cincinnati 27-6. And I never seen a playoff game or national championship type game like this, Shane, where Alabama comes out 10 straight runs. They just had no respect for Cincinnati. And then they're on, I think it was the 8-yard line. They score a passing touchdown. So 10 out of 10 run. Then you get a walk-in touchdown. And from that point, man, I got to be honest. I feel like, Bryce Young didn't have his best game. I feel like Alabama played their maybe B- game, and yet they destroyed Cincinnati because Cincinnati was not a threat. They could do nothing on offense, and they couldn't stop Alabama. And how about this stat, Shane? Brian Robinson, 204 rushing yards for Alabama. We all know the list of Alabama great running backs: Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry, T.J. Yeldon. You can go on and on and on. Alabama's never had a running back to rush for 204 yards in a bowl game until now. So credit Brian Robinson there for his heroics. But at the end of the day, man, this felt like a Notre Dame, insert of a joke of a team. because this was a formality for Alabama just making quick work of Cincinnati. And I did think it was hilarious. One more thing to go back to Kirby Smart. You know, he was asked in the postgame, Shane, about moving on to the national championship. He said, "Well, I'm a little upset because Alabama got a 3-hour head start on us." So I was like, "Oh my goodness!" I mean, these are the two juggernauts of the sport. You know what?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, this is the same deal. This just felt like Alabama just put their hard hat on, went to work. That's it. Nothing fancy, nothing special. Just go out there, hand the damn ball off. I was watching this game with my wife, and we were watching these guys doing the coin toss, and she goes, "Oh my God, look how much bigger Alabama is." She's right. That all you have to do is just lean downhill on these guys, and that's exactly what Alabama was able to do and walk away from. Didn't have to show much. But I will tell you, Mike, there was a couple of things in this game that I don't want to say red flags or anything like that, but I think needs to obviously get corrected, because I guarantee Georgia's all over this film. Cincinnati found ways to get pressure. Cincinnati is not as athletic as Alabama for sure, but they did find unique, interesting ways to get pressure and keep Bryce unsteady in the pocket. I don't know if you saw that or if maybe I'm just overreacting or just taking little tiny things out, but it did feel a little bit like Alabama's going to have to, get back to the film room. They can't just walk on the field and beat Georgia like they did a couple of weeks ago.
Right. Yeah, and that's easier said than done, but that's what we had seen leading up to the SEC championship. Auburn in the Iron Bowl. LSU was another one. Texas A&M. They were able to get after Bryce Young, and that's the key to slowing them down, not letting them sit back there and pick you apart. Now, they did a masterful job of getting the ball out of Bryce's hands quick in that SEC championship, but that's going to be the challenge, Shane, because, Bryce Young, he deserved to win the Heisman, but in my mind, he won it, at the end of the Iron Bowl and by his performance in the SEC championship. And if he has another heroic performance against Georgia, they're going to beat Georgia in the national championship game. So, I hate to be that simplistic, but, the game is probably going to come down to that. I mean, who wins that edge? Can Georgia find ways to manufacture a pass rush that they were unable to do in the SEC championship game? And can Alabama protect their quarterback? Can they get it out of the ball out of his hands quickly? And man, I think that's the key to the matchup there. And you already teased it, Shane. The Bulldogs favored. It opened by 2.5 points. It's already up to 3. Georgia favored by 3. Games in Indianapolis. Thoughts on that one, Shane? Because, oh man, Saban, he's eating up that yummy rat poison right now, isn't he?
Absolutely. Well, fool me once, shame on me. That's what Georgia should be saying. You should throw all that out. This is a pick 'em, Mike. This is two juggernauts going at it in Indianapolis, and it's going to make out to be one of the greatest national championship games ever. We got one of the best offense against the best defense. And then on the flip side, you're like, well, Georgia's offense really took a couple steps forward, I felt like, this week, just as Alabama's defense did. So it's just like these guys cannot become more mirrored opponents than they are right now, and I'm looking forward to this one, brother. It's going to be a hell of a game.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, obviously any win is what you want, but the way you were able to physically manhandle them, it seems up front, was that any more gratifying to see the way you guys were able to control that line?
No, I think you always want to control the line of scrimmage. I think it's always important in any game. And we were able to do that on both sides of the ball, and I think that was a big part of having success in this game. Now, we probably didn't make as many explosive plays because of that, but, it shrinks the game. You don't have to play as many plays on defense. We did a good job on 3rd down and 4th down on defense and got off the field. So the combination of those things with a couple red area stops and being able to control the line of scrimmage up front were probably the key to being successful in this game.
With Brian Robinson, he has a running style where he doesn't shy away from contact. It almost seems to get better after he's run over a couple guys. In terms of toughness of the team, how contagious can that be, being physical and out physical in a team?
Yeah, well, I think that's always a goal for us, is to play
with more effort, more intensity, be more physical, play with more toughness than the other team. B-Rob certainly exemplifies that in his style of play, and I think it fires up a lot of people around him when they see a player be able to do that. And he made some tough runs tonight. He got lots of yards after first contact.
Yeah, Nick, all season it seemed like your public comments about this team were very positive and forward-looking, even after like the A&M loss or some close games, or maybe there was some negativity with the fan base. Why did this particular team need that from you?
Well, I think we're a relatively young team. We've got a lot of young players that are out there playing. I think when you have success, the previous season, which the guys that did come back were very successful. It really took a long time for us to sort of develop the chemistry, on this team from a leadership standpoint, because we had some great leaders on last year's team. So even though guys have leadership qualities, they don't really see that as their role because it didn't have to be their role in the past. But we've had some guys really step up for us and do a really good job. And I think, I don't want to call it nurturing, but I felt like, we needed to do that with this team, that, just getting on these guys all the time was not going to help their confidence. It was not going to help the young players develop. And, then we started to develop some of these internal, intangible things that really helped us grow as a team.
All right, Shane, we've been getting asked about this left
All right,
and
that's
right.
it. All right, see you guys. Good night.
I was at this game. I rewatched it this morning so I could see the telecast version of it. Cousin Shane was not too happy with some of the announcers, so I wanted to see what he had to say. But, hey, once again, Shane, kicking the nuts number 2 for me here, because Purdue wins a Music City Bowl 48-45. And yes, maybe the worst officiated game I have seen all season. And yes, that was a touchdown at the end of the game. Tennessee, you could argue, deserved to win this football game. But at the same time, Shane, I hate to be this guy, but I ain't putting it all on the ref, Shane, because the defense was abysmal at times. I think the way Tennessee ended the first half was killer. They actually stopped Purdue. They got the ball back. They had a little bit of time. Then there was a turnover that was very poorly done there. And then Purdue scored. So, you're talking 10 points right before first half. That was a killer. And the biggest one to me, Shane, and this is why Hendon Hooker should be coming back, because I think Josh Heupel took the blame for this, but to me, it's on the quarterback, 10 out of 10. They had 17 seconds left in this ball game, Shane. They had 3 timeouts in their pocket. They needed about 10 yards to get in a manageable field goal range, and they threw basically 2 Hail Marys, and then Hendon Hooker ran it for 4 yards. So you're talking 17 seconds, 3 timeouts, you get 4 yards, and you're trying a field goal that's out of the kicker's range, and that's why Tennessee lost the football game. As much as the refs suck, and I was sitting there chanting it with everybody else, but, Tennessee had their opportunities. They were up 21-7 against a Purdue team missing some of their best players. No excuse for losing this game, in my opinion.
That's it, Mike. And I'm glad we put a little distance in this game, because if you would have caught me right after, obviously I was on the – I'm still hot because that was a touchdown, clearly. Yeah. And, I watched a play that was floating around with Will Levis at Kentucky getting a first down, with momentum. And it's just like, why? Why is this okay, but a touchdown in overtime isn't? You know what I'm saying? It's just a game should not be decided by refs at all. They should be a neutral party in this thing. And it felt like they clearly were a part of the script, man. And it wasn't just this. It was some of these dumb pass interference calls. It was just nonstop terrible, man. It was terrible calls. So, but like you said, it shouldn't have come down to that. I think Tennessee put together one of the worst quarters in their history of college football in the second quarter, Mike. They gave Purdue so many opportunities to not only get back in this game, but take the lead. This was a Tennessee ball club that was having their way with Purdue and could have continued to it, but they kept messing up. They kept messing up on both sides of the ball, mainly on defense. Like you said, it felt like times there was just not even defenders back there. You know what I'm saying? I would have rather put 11 in the box and tried to blitz him. It's like, what are we even doing here? So there were some bad plays on both sides, but Mike, the fact of the matter is Tennessee was a better ball club. Shouldn't have lost this game, and it's going to stick in my craw for a while because I think of some bad games. I think you want to point fingers. I think that's me. I always want to point. I want to do the fake injuries. I'm pointing fingers. The refs, I'm pointing fingers. What else is there? I don't know. Just. Well, it shouldn't have happened.
Before we got on the line, Shane's pointing a finger at me. All of Vol Nation can. I went to 2 Tennessee games this year, Ole Miss and Purdue. So I may never go to a Tennessee game again just for you, cousin Shane.
You may be banned. Yeah, seriously, I'm telling you, I'm that guy. I jinx everything's so. But anyway, I don't want to fall down this rabbit hole. Thank God we didn't get on right after for Emergency Podcast because I'd still be talking about it, brother. But the truth be told, I'm proud of these boys. I'm proud of what they have accomplished. They should have won this game. I hate that, there was a lot of kids there that this is the last time they're going to play collegiate football. And for it to be damn decided by the damn stripes of the ACC, that only fuels my anger for that stupid-ass conference a little bit more, Mike. But anyway, so I don't go down that path. Congratulations to a lot of the athletes that did play because there was some hell. I'll tell you, man, Tillman, I love that kid, and he's like, there's a stat. I don't know if you remember that. I can't remember if it was a Monday Night Football game or something that was floating around, but Randy Moss had 3 catches, 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, if that's what he's going to do all year next year, I'm telling you, Tennessee Vols going to be all right. We got weapons. We got to learn from this, man. We got to learn from this, and we cannot let this one game define us. Even though we should have won, Mike. We should have won it.
Well, you mentioned Cedric Tillman. There's 7 catches, 150 yards, 3 touchdowns. My goodness, the connection between him and Hendon Hooker continues to grow, and that's going to be the strength of the team next season. But let me ask you about Hendon Hooker, Shay, because, being there at the game and watching it on the telecast, it's obviously a little bit easier to see at the game. I feel like he left 2 or 3 touchdowns out on the field. I think, you mentioned the second quarter was very rough. Now, there was some heroics. I'm not trying to pile on him, but I think it's fair to say that he played, he could have played a lot better. Like it was almost an average performance, wouldn't you say?
Well, for sure, Mike. And I think as much as I can't stand Jordan sometimes, one of the things he was mentioning was when he went back-to-back plays on running the ball, he had trouble with his efficiency in the following downs. And it felt like sometimes, we didn't let him sit back there, or maybe he was told to let go. I don't know, but he had a tough time bouncing back and forth from being mobile to accurate,
Mm-hmm. Well, the main reason I wanted to say that, Shane, because my goodness, he threw for 5 touchdowns, yet I think any casual observer could tell you he had just an average game, yet, imagine Tennessee football that was the most touchdowns, Shane, that a Tennessee quarterback has thrown in a decade. Yet, that's how far this Josh Heupel offense and this system in Knoxville has come, where, we're shattering records. The offense is, outstanding to watch. It's one of the funnest in college football, yet scoring 45, I mean, that's an average day out there. So, I mean, there's a lot to like about Tennessee. And last thing, because I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but, man, they have got to work in year 2, in my mind, Shane, on closing the halves and perhaps more importantly, goal line and short yardage situations, because all season, I think back to Pitt, I think back to Ole Miss, I think back to obviously this bowl game that just happened. This offense comes up short in the red zone too many times for as effective as they are, and it cost them a couple ball games this year.
Yeah, that and momentum. It feels like I hate fake injuries, Mike, buddy. I hate them more than anybody, but it felt like at times if this team wasn't going fast, they weren't going at all. So, just being able to come out of the gates, if you have a lull, if you have time down, don't be afraid to still, play Tennessee football. It's just, it felt like at times this season, and especially during this bowl game when we had some lull times, Tennessee just 3 and out, man. Let's punt the ball, and they lose the momentum. So that's the thing, being able to start quick.
Josh, did you get an explanation on Jalen's play there, that fourth down play? Did they say that was forward progress and not reviewable, or what did you hear on that?
Yeah, they said the forward progress had been stopped. Sounded like the whistle blew after he extended the football, but
Just talk about at the end of regulation going for the long field goal, confidence level and chasing that situation.
Yeah, right on the edge there, and Coach Eck believed in it, but the biggest thing is Chase did too, and he had the look in his eye where he wanted the opportunity to go drain it, and shoot, he gave it a hell of a run. Disappointed we didn't get the ball just a little bit closer for him. That's on me.
Josh, you coach enough football. I'm sure you're going to be on the bad end of some weird calls. This late in the game, this late in the season, how do you make sure the message is perspective and not too much emotion?
I mean, I think you sit back and you think about the things that you have a chance to control, and at the end of the day, when you're in a competitive environment, you got to control your controllables, and that's it. And there's some things that we handled really well tonight. There's some things that we didn't, and that's myself, our coaching staff, it's our players. It's all of us getting better. And, you walk in the locker room, and you can see it when they walked off the field. It hurts, right? And shoot, if it ever doesn't, then you got the wrong group of guys inside the building. They're prideful, they care. I think that's shown up in the way they competed tonight, but it's shown in the growth of over the last 11 months. And so, always come from a place of passion and love, and be careful about the emotion of anything that's going on, and just, think before you speak. And I'm proud of these guys, man. I really am. Disappointed in tonight, and the journey is way more important than the destination in some respects. Not that we don't want the right destination either, right? But, man, this journey's been awesome with these guys.
Josh, do you support some kind of mandatory cooling off period for injured players before returning to the game, or is that something it's just a reality of the sport in this era?
What's crazy is the officials wanted that tonight. I thought that was pretty comical that they came up and said that to me.
All right, Shane, moving on to some happier results here for the SEC. How about the Arkansas Razorbacks, Shane? I mean, my goodness. I mean, we've talked about it endlessly all season, the turnaround that has been made by Sam Pittman and company there in Fayetteville. They go win a January 1st game 24-10 over Penn State, and basically dominated for the most part of the game. They also had a down second quarter. They were actually losing at halftime, but just completely dominated the second half. Mm-hmm. KJ Jefferson, MVP of the football game, put the team on his back, running the ball, throwing the ball. Treylon Burks was out. And that was to me at halftime, I was thinking, oh my goodness, we're in trouble here. The offense is not getting much going without Treylon Burks. Someone's got to step up. And that man was KJ Jefferson once again, someone who 24/7 Sports said it was the worst quarterback in the SEC coming into the year. He's top 3 in the SEC now that we've seen him on the field. But, man, just what a remarkable turnaround. And 9 wins, Shane, the most in a decade for Arkansas. Mm-hmm. Year 2. What a damn game here. And what a team, man. This is a team that should be recognized as one that's really laying the foundation for years to come, and which should only be getting better there in Fayetteville. And if I'm an Arkansas fan, I'm fired up.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, like you said, KJ, he did like the opposite of Antonio Brown. He started at halftime. He just came out and said, "You know what? I'm going to take this game over." And that's why you're the vet, man. That's why you're the team captain. That's why everybody looks up to you, because he literally put the team on his shoulders, went out there and won this game. And that's what I love, man, because there was moments that I even had little seeds of doubt, the SEC's never going to win, And I'm watching this dumbass Franklin over there, man. I was like, man, we cannot have this. And it was so nice to see Arkansas come out and do Arkansas football, man. I mean, once they committed, there was no stopping them. I mean, almost 400 yards rushing. That's SEC football, brother.
Mm-hmm.
That's your Hogs right up there. You know, did they make mistakes? Yes. Did they let some pressures get through? Absolutely. But when it came down to it, and you looked at talent top to bottom, it was clearly Arkansas was the more dominant team out there.
Yeah, and I know you'll love this comment, Shane, but, after the game, Sam Pittman said, well, this was a lot like the Rice game. We started slow, and we just had to find our bearings and just dominate the second half. My God, he just compared Penn State to Rice, James Franklin. But, I mean, that's what it is. If Arkansas played up to their potential, like they did in the second half, they're going to dominate this opponent.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did. And, yes, they just lost a generational receiver to the NFL. They're going to have guys that step up next year. But this is your bread and butter. This is what it's going to be under Sam Pittman. It's going to be dominant running performances. Your offensive line is just going to get better. KJ Jefferson's just going to get better. And the heart and soul of this team, the defense, stepped up time and time again. Bumper pool, my goodness, you see he almost decapitated Penn State quarterback Clifford on that one hit. And it was just, it was play after play after play that was coming about. And it was just, a remarkable defensive performance. Barry Odom, again, he deserves all the credit in the world for getting his team up to play. One or two blown coverages, but that was it. The rest of the time, when Penn State was given a little bit of life, the Arkansas Razorbacks forcing turnovers to shut that door on them. And, man, this just caps one of the best seasons in Arkansas history. And like I said, I think the best is yet to come for the Razorbacks.
Absolutely. Foundation's laid, brother. Arkansas's here for a long, long time. So, and it starts that with another successful bowl win. So, and it's over Penn State, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people were crowning this team at the start of the season as a national championship contender.
Yep.
They ain't saying shit now, I'm proud of these boys. I'm proud of what they did. Arkansas went to work and got the victory.
It's hard, It's hard to, like I said a long time ago, I used to be one of the people in the stands, and to some people this might be a big, huge win. Some of it may be, well, it was the Outback Bowl. It's not the national championship, but to me, it's the national. I mean, it's as big as you can get to our players. We've come a long way, and are really pleased of how the Arkansas people followed us here, the folks, and I know they spent their hard-earned money to get out here, and we're so appreciative of that. But what I'm going to say, that feeling of tomorrow morning, and you're University of Arkansas, and you're in our state, Arkansas, and you're proud of the Razorbacks. That's what I felt whenever they were giving KJ his trophy and the team ours.
Coach, on one of KJ's earlier runs, he gets on the edge. He's not sliding. He's low on the shoulder.
Yeah.
That's a fullback coming at
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it is. We don't do none of that. I mean, we that ain't how we're built. I mean, I earlier in the year I said, hey KJ, you can go left or right. You don't. No. I got it. What'd you tell me? You had to make a statement. I mean, right early in the Texas game. Man, so I'm like, here comes the safety, and he doesn't even have to run to KJ. KJ just starts running to him. But that's a little bit of physicality of who he is, and hopefully what our team's about. Yeah, I think the best thing that he's done, obviously, he's throwing the ball better than he ever has, but it's the way the kids look at him on the team. I think you can tell a leader by the way somebody looks at you a lot, and the kids look to him because they wouldn't if he wasn't tough. They wouldn't if he made a lot of excuses. They wouldn't if he's late to practice. They wouldn't. But he's none of those things. He's tough. He doesn't make excuses. He takes ownership of what he does, good and bad, and he can throw the football. And his delivery has really improved this year. And we always knew he could run. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know he could run as well as he can until the Rice game. And when he ran an option, did his little deal, and then went down the sideline. So he's just really grown, but he's a better person than he is a football player. I mean, he's a great kid, and that's where your leadership usually comes from. I hope it is. It is to us. I believe it is. You can kind of feel it in the crowd. You can kind of feel it, and we're hungry for football. Our state's hungry for football. We're a proud state, and football, and no disrespect to any other sport, football is big in the state of Arkansas at the University of Arkansas, and I think there's always folks that want more, and one of them is me. But it's over now, and to be Outback Bowl champions with 9 wins, I'm really, really proud of our team with what we've accomplished. 2 of the teams that beat us also were pretty good last night, so we play in a heck of a league, and I'm proud to be, and I said it a long time ago, we're in the SEC West right where Arkansas belongs, and we're starting to prove that.
Well, speaking of foundation being late, Shane, Kentucky, right here, another big bowl win, beats Iowa 2017 in a game, they were controlling at the beginning, and then Iowa took all the momentum. It looked like the Hawkeyes were going to steal one. It was going to be a back-breaking defeat. But Wan'Dale Robinson, my goodness, Shane, I mean, he's a man amongst boys. Will Levis stepped up after a rough interception. It looked like it was going to cost Kentucky the game. They bounced back and seal the deal here with another New Year's Day bowl win for the program. Shane, the second 10-win season in the last 4 years. Just a remarkable job Mark Stoops and his coaching staff have done in Lexington. And how about this, Shane? 4 years ago, Mark Stoops never even won a bowl game. Now he's won more bowl games than any Kentucky coach in the program history. And next season, he's going to be the winningest head coach of all time. And hell, they've had Bear Bryant has been down there as their coach. So, I mean, that's just an indication of how far this program's come. But, man, this is kind of who Kentucky's been all season, Shane, where, it was sloppy at times. Maybe they had to come back at times, and they're turning the ball over at inopportune times, letting teams hang around. And in Iowa, I thought they were going to score about 3 points this entire ball game. Somehow they scored late in the game to seal, to take the lead. And yet, like I said, you thought they were going to steal one, but just this Kentucky team's got too much heart, Shane, and they're just too damn tough to let a game like this slip away until the clock's at straight zeros here. And Chris Rodriguez, haven't even mentioned him, Shane, 107 yards and the game-winning touchdown. But man, just this caps an incredible season here for Kentucky, don't you think?
Well, I think the big one on this one, Mike, is how many times do people say bowl games don't matter? And I'm watching this whole thing. This game mattered. It mattered on offense. It mattered on defense. I think it was the toughest I've ever seen Will run. It was the toughest I've ever seen Rodriguez run. The energy that Robinson was putting up there, some of the gameplay. I mean, it was everything was left on the field. You saw it after the game, how emotional the players were. This was a tough fought ball game, and it was frustrating at times because it felt to me like Kentucky and Iowa were not on the same page. Iowa just found clever ways to move the chains or clever ways to create some pressure and things like that. They had almost gimmicky at times, and Kentucky was just doing Kentucky football. But there at the end, you're like, oh, come on, man, don't blow this, And then Kentucky, like you said, they bend, but they don't break. The defense came through clutch. There was, how many times did we see an interception right there in the red zone? I thought Kentucky did just enough on defense to stay in this ball game the entire time, and just lean on what got them there, that running game, and Will not making too many mistakes. So this was a hell of a game, man. And if you didn't get to watch it, you missed one.
Yeah, and I don't know if you were aware of this or not, Shane, but DeAndre Square, the linebacker, he got injured in the game. He says the medical staff said, you got to sit out. You cannot go back in. But they needed him late in the game. And, hell, he went out there anyway. He's the one that got the game-winning interception to close this thing out. And, I mean, if that doesn't epitomize what Mark Stoops and this Kentucky football program is, I don't know what does here. And hell, they got their linebackers coach, squares coach, position coach already been named, already been introduced down at Troy as the new head coach, John Summerall. He came back. There's a clip going on after the game, basically in tears saying, this is why I came back. This is why I wanted to coach through the bowl game, is for kids like us here that just gutted it all out for Kentucky.
Limping, had to miss the third quarter, didn't quit to make that play at the end. My God, what a stud. So I came back to coach that kid and to watch him make that play. Made my year. Made 2022, now I got to win some games somewhere else.
Man, I'm getting fired up, Shane, because I'm just looking at it, and I know the season is over, but there's so many teams here in the SEC with the arrow pointing up. And, it feels like we're in like the golden age of SEC football. And man, I can't, this is before even Texas and Oklahoma come to the league. You know what?
No, the SEC pride. I think of Coach Mayer after this game saying so much the SEC's down. This is a grown man's league. Let's go. A lot of pride out there, man. Yeah, absolutely, man. Because this is what they're going to hear on the recruiting trail. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know a bowl game sometimes doesn't mean much to others, but if it can be used against you, it's going to be. Kentucky is a legit program. Kentucky's going to be here for a while. The foundation is made. You're 10-3. I mean, come on. Why wouldn't you want to finish your season strong? So this was just a great game. And like I said, start to finish, there was no quit in this team, and that was obvious. And that's why they win. That's why they won, man. This was all heart right here.
Mark, you've obviously seen some great individual performances in your time here, but what Wan'Dale did today, when there's so much attention to him and everybody knows you don't have a ton of receivers that you're trying to get the ball to, just can you contextualize how difficult it is to do what he did on that last drive?
Yeah, John, it is really hard to describe, what he's meant to us. He is the ultimate competitor, he's very selfless. He plays extremely hard. He plays, the game for himself, for his family, for his teammates, for this institution, his state. Just plays so hard, made such competitive plays in big moments. And that's what you need to win a bowl game, to beat quality opponents. You need your guys to step up and make plays when you need them. And he certainly did that. I believe that was in the second quarter of the long conversion, the diving catch, heck of a throw by Will, not much open, on the whole field. And they had us in a bad spot, 3rd and forever. And Will makes a tremendous throw, and Wan'Dale lays out and makes that catch, and we get that 3 there. I thought that was very big to convert on some points there.
This is your 4th consecutive bowl win, and this is multiple times where you guys have came down to the final couple drives. What does it say about your program and the resilience of your teams to fight till the end to win these bowl games?
We're used to that. We've won a lot of close games. I think it comes down to our players caring about each other, having a toughness, having a resiliency about you, respecting the game. We talked about playing the game, with honor, and they do that. These players do. This is a player-led team. These 2 guys right here are new to our program, but they have had an enormous impact in our program and fit right in and become leaders, and really made a big difference this entire year, and made a very big difference today.
Yeah, and speaking of all heart, Shane, I mean, my goodness, South Carolina goes in, huge underdog against North Carolina in the Duke Mayo Bowl, and the Gamecocks dominated, Shane, 38-21, jumped out to 18-0 lead, and North Carolina was just basically trying to hang on and claw back the entire way, couldn't do it. And how about this coaching staff, Shane? These offensive staff, Marcus Satterfield, Justin Stepp, the receivers coach. Marcus Satterfield been getting called out left and right. Everybody wants his ass gone. Man, they dialed up a beautiful game plan here, putting a receiver at quarterback to carry on Joyner. He had the game of his life.
Yep.
He outplayed Sam Howell, who may be a first-round draft pick here. And, man, I'm just stunned that this happened, Shane. I mean, this is what we were kind of expecting from South Carolina, but this was their best performance. and maybe, you know, playing out the season, having these this is why making a bowl game is so big, because you lose your regular season finale against your arch rival, you're going to have a bad taste in your mouth. No one gives a shit about that now because we just won an epic performance. Our coach just got doused in mayonnaise, and Kevin Harris rushed for 182 yards. He leaves school a legend. And, man, again, this is another team. Hell, I'm seeing the fans are saying we're going to be competing for the SEC East next year. And, hell, I can't say they're wrong, Shane, based on you know, the transfers coming in, the signing class they're bringing in. I mean, South Carolina, the arrow is pointing way up here.
Dude, I'm telling you, the hardest hit of that game was that 10-gallon jug of Mayo there dropped on Beamer's head, you know. And I want to issue an apology to South Carolina fans because I did not think this was going to be a ball game at all. I went right into the narrative. Like you said, we got an NFL quarterback. We got all these guys opting out. There's just no chance that they're going to be able to compete with South Carolina. And I'm watching this, and like you said, Will Joyner, man, played his damn heart out. And that's my only downside was I think they should have kept him in the entire time because it felt like that quarterback switching, you know, sometimes it slowed them down a little bit. And South Carolina just played. I mean, they played, brother. These boys were ready to play, put some points up. Offense, defense, I thought the defensive pressure was fantastic. I thought just the running game, just getting Harris going again. I just thought that was like, we haven't got to see that in a while. So you could see once you stretch your field, man, then that box isn't loaded. And that's what South Carolina's been trying to do all damn season, and they were able to do it in this bowl game.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, talk about, you know, players, you know, some people saying they don't want to play in the bowl games, that means nothing to them. You know, this was the most viral clip, I think, of the entire bowl season here. DeCarrion Joyner. This clip comes from Mike Gillespie, Columbia, ABC. Let's kick it over to DeCarrion Joyner real quick.
Vintage DeCarrion from Fort Dorchester. And do you believe that just happened?
I'm so thankful, man. Like, God is so good. Like, I'm sorry, man. My bad. I'm just thankful, man. God is so good. Like, I waited so long for this opportunity, and I finally got it. I'm thankful, man. I thank God for everything, man. I love my family. Shout out to my family. I had 20 people here today. Shout out to my family, man.
All right, Shane. So, I mean, hey, if anyone ever tells you bowl games, meaningless, no one cares, you know, we're not calling out players that opt out. Hell, South Carolina had players that opt out. But it means something to players like yes, and it means something to the vast majority of players. And they're out here gutting it, trying to finish their season strong. And like I said, man, this changes the complete narrative. I mean, if I'm a Gamecock fan, I know I'm repeating myself here, but, man, I'm fired up heading in the offseason.
Dude, the meter is at 100 right now. I mean, just think about, forget the recruiting part of it, you know, forget that we've got a Heisman candidate coming in at quarterback next year. It's like, forget all that. Just think about how hard you played toward the tail end of the season and how this team seemed to gel and find ways to win. Was it beautiful? Was it perfect? Absolutely not. But it's moving in the right direction. There's not a hotter team in the East right now, Mike.
When did you decide about alternating the quarterbacks? Did that come after Jason's decision, or when did you come up with that game plan? And just talk us a little bit about how you got that idea.
Yeah, it was really credit Marcus Satterfield. I mean, that wasn't me. It was we had the game against Clemson and really early on, even before Jason made his decision, we felt like we needed to get DK going in there. Just we had a month to get him ready and just the element of being able to make them defend the quarterback run game. They really hadn't faced a quarterback this year on their schedule that, you know, ran the ball like we were going to do with DK. And he's a talented thrower as well. There's a reason he was recruited as a high school quarterback by so many programs, including South Carolina, and just so happy for that young man. And, you know, we tried to keep it under wraps. We skunked you guys a little bit when y'all came out to practice the other day because we put him with the receivers. and made sure he did receiver drills. But honestly, that was the only time he worked with the receivers the whole month of practice was the 20 minutes you guys were out there the other day. So sorry for not being totally honest and forthcoming with you guys, but felt like it was what we needed to do to win the football game. And Jaheim, I mean, he's such a great football player and has so much potential. And it's what this team's about. I told the story last night. We were coming off a loss to A&M, and I was in the waiting room one morning at like 6 a.m. and Jabari Ellis came through there, and he stopped me. I was going to get a drink of water, and he stopped me, and he just said, "Hey, we got your back, and we're going to get to a bowl, and we're going to get this thing right." And I told the team that last night, and they did. We had each other's back, and then we got to Charlotte. And then to talk about Jaheim specifically, literally, David, right before he goes out there on the field, he stops me. He goes, "Hey, I got your back." And then he goes out there and makes that huge play early to give us momentum. And that's just what this team's about. Regardless of what the naysayers say on the outside, regardless of what you guys thought this game was going to go. Ben, I read your article this morning with your 31-10 prediction as well. So regardless of what you guys, and I'm sure y'all all were picking against us. I just read Ben's article. I love you, Ben. You know that. But regardless of what people on the outside were saying, our guys just, came and had each other's back. And that's all that mattered.
I promise I don't have any staff change questions today, but as far as looking at this game and standing on that stage after the game and holding the trophy, I mean, when you look at this season and kind of how it's gone, I mean, I know you would have liked to win a few more games, but what does it feel like to have sort of, proof that what you guys are doing is right and that you guys are moving in the right direction and to accomplished what you've accomplished this year? Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. And in all seriousness, I appreciate your work. You do an amazing job. And you had some great articles this week that I read. It means so much. One, just so happy for our fans, because a lot of the chatter was about this team and how terrible we perform over historically in Charlotte, which had absolutely zero to do with this football team. And so happy for our fans. We got so many Gamecocks here in this area. This is an area that we recruit heavily. So happy for them, happy for our players, but it's a great statement about, where we are. And I know I said that earlier about the staff changes and all that. Look, I understand we got to be a whole lot more consistent because we look great today offensively. We look great against Auburn. We look great against Florida. We all saw us at Texas A&M and Missouri and Clemson. So the consistency, I'm well aware we have to be more consistent, but to win a bowl game, to go into the offseason with so much momentum, so much belief, within our players. And they've got about 2 weeks off here before they come back for the spring semester. And I can't wait to get back and get right back to work. But to send these super seniors out the right way, a guy like Damani Staley, who just makes big play after big play after big play this season, going all the way back to East Carolina and the pick six completely turned that game around. And then they have a huge sack today. Just so many stories like that. And it was a great lesson for our players. The other thing we talked about in the team meeting last night, Ben, was we had all the super seniors get up and the coaches talked about what those guys had meant to this program. And I mean, I don't know if there was a dry eye in the team meeting, but one of the points we made was you look at all these guys and so many guys want like instant success and Jalen Foster was a scout team, special teams player of the year 2 years in a row and ends up finishing his senior year being our team MVP and an All-American. And Damani Staley, who battled throughout his career. I mean, I hardly even knew who Damani Staley was during spring practice and because he never says a word. And then he's made so many big plays for us on defense. And it was a great lesson for our guys that, it doesn't always just happen as a freshman or sophomore. Like, you got to work. And there's other great players here with you. And for those guys, those super seniors, to go out today and to have the best season of their career in their last year and best game today like they did was pretty awesome and a great statement about what this program and family is about.
I got a question for you, Shane, and a question for Hunter. Hunter, what did you make of the Mayo bath for your dad? What do you think about that? And Shane, could you address the back of your head? It seems like you took a little bump on that.
What did you think of the Mayo bath?
Awesome.
You thought it was awesome? You're right. He said it was awesome. I did. I mean, the anticipation of the Mayo bath, and then I got hammered in the back of the head by the cooler before they dumped it on me. So I may have a concussion from that. And then on top of that, I got the Mayo, and it was awful, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm so glad I got to experience because we won, but it was even more awful than I thought it would be, to be honest with you. I mean, these pants and I changed shirts, but it's I mean, I got Mayo in my pockets and I'll be getting Mayo off of me for months.
All right, hey, one last game, Shane. Man, again, disappointing it close to the season, but it was a hell of a year for the Ole Miss Rebels. But they fell in the Sugar Bowl here, late Saturday night, midnight type game here. But Baylor wins 21-7, and of course the big story: Matt Corral injured his ankle, could not finish the football game after barely playing in it. Now the good news is, it sounds like he didn't break his ankle or anything, and from what I understand, Chris Mortensen has kind of come out. Chris Lowe, also ESPN, has come out and said this is not a long-term injury, so that's great news. Man, you just see the importance Matt Corral had on this 10-win Ole Miss team that advanced to the Sugar Bowl. They basically had no shot without him, and that's not to diminish Dave Aranda's defense at Baylor. I mean, they played lights out, but man, when you lose your leader, you lose your captain. I know Luke Altmaier, the backup, came in. He had the one nice touchdown, but the Rebels just basically stood no chance without their captain on the field. You know what?
Yeah, and you just wind out of your sails. That's what it felt like, Mike. It felt like we just tucked in after this. I thought Ole Miss defense gave them hell. I thought that, they gave them every opportunity to stay in this ball game, but we just, once Matt's out, man, it's almost like we weren't ready for plan B. You know what I'm saying? So I hate it for a lot of the players out there. I hope Matt does well. I hope this doesn't ruin, because here we are talking about, all these players opting out and things like that. Then you get a story like this. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard not to point at it. So long as it doesn't affect his draft stock, hopefully, he'll still be representing the university many, many years in the NFL.
Yeah, and like you said, credit the defense, Shane, who, the only score of the first half was a pick six thrown by Luke Altmaier. I mean, the Rebels didn't give up a single point in the first half. They kind of, I don't want to say crumbled in the second half, but they did give up the 2 scores late. But, if your defense gives up 14 points and you're the Ole Miss Rebels, you expect to win in a damn landslide here because you're used to scoring so much. So, hey, they rose to the occasion once again, but just a tough way to end the season. But, again, I mean, I know Jeff Lebby's gone, Matt Corral's gone. The anticipation is Lane Kiffin will reel him in, an elite transfer quarterback to compete with Luke Altmaier for next season to be the starting quarterback. And then, hey, even though you're down because of this, Shane, this news broke, but they're putting $1.5 billion into the athletics program. They're going to renovate Vaught Hemingway Stadium. They're going to renovate all the facilities down there. And now this is a stroke of genius, Shane, because we all know with Texas and Oklahoma coming, the SEC is going to be a super conference. And I know a lot of fans outside the SEC, they don't understand the passion of Arkansas and Ole Miss and on and on and on. I mean, the resources, the fan base, all that is in place. There just needs to be that commitment of excellence. And
yeah,
I know Alabama's a dynasty, and we're all thinking, oh my God, we can never be Alabama. I truly think, Shane, if you put in those resources and you got the coaching staff and you find the right players, I mean, I don't want to say dynasty to Alabama's level, but I really think the rest of the SEC, all those programs have an opportunity to rise to that level, to be an SEC champion, to be a national champion. You just got to put forth the resources. And, man, you hear $1.5 billion. I mean, that's like NFL franchise money. Yeah, I mean, that just goes to show the level of commitment down here, not only in Oxford, but across the SEC, because that's why they're doing it, because they want to compete with Alabama, with LSU, with A&M. Yeah. They see what's going on, and you can sit back and say, well, we'll do it in 5-10 years. It's going to be too late, brother. You got to do it before Texas and Oklahoma come in here. But, man, it's wild to see where this thing's going. You know what?
Absolutely, man. And I think that's why you think you Papaw's football teams here, as the reason they were on top. They were the ones spending all the money there for many, many years. Right. Well, guess what? Now there's a lot more teams doing it. Now it don't really matter where you at. You can be in Podunk, Indiana, French Lick, Indiana. You can win national championship if you got enough money involved. You know what I'm saying? So that's the next chapter of college football. And kudos for Ole Miss and they're not the only one, man. I'm telling you, from top to bottom, all through the SEC, there's going to be some programs stepping up and spending some money. But $1.5 billion, come on now. Ole Miss is ready to win some championships, baby.
Yeah, Lane, did you get a sense of what Matt's injury was? Do you know if he has VSDI or any other sort of insurance?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into Matt's insurance. He does. This does not appear to be that type of injury where that would ever be a factor. His X-ray was negative. He just wasn't able to go, so I don't think that that's a factor.
Hey, Lane, what were your emotions when you saw Matt get injured? I know you were obviously very much so involved in the game, but what were your emotions seeing that, and how tough was that for you?
I probably didn't do a good enough job. That's obviously a difficult situation, especially when a kid's playing in the game. So my mind raced with a lot of thoughts right there, and that's just for my love for him, just like I would if it was my own son in that situation. So, maybe I didn't do a great enough job with the team because, I was really hurting for him in that situation because I know how much he's put into it, how much it means to him, and for that to be taken away like that, really sucks.
Hey, Lane, a couple of things, if you don't mind. I know you already addressed Jeff Levy leaving. There's reports about Wilson Love leaving for Oregon. There's talks about DJ Durkin possibly having some opportunities. I was wondering if you could address their futures on your staff, and then also, does Luke's performance tonight change anything with the way that you evaluate the transfer portal at quarterback?
There's a lot of questions there. Wilson is going to Oregon. We're happy for him. Again, when you win, like we did, and have a historic regular season, people come and want a piece of what you're doing. So, that's happened. And we lost a couple the year before. Levy obviously going and splitting time between there and back here. We appreciate him doing that in the bowl prep. That was not easy for him. And the way our defense played tonight, DJ's probably gonna have a lot of opportunities. But he's done a great job all season. I don't know of any other opportunities or anything, but he's done a fabulous job with our players, not just performance, but recruiting and flipping over a roster that, you guys have followed it here. When it was one of the statistically over the last 5 years of defense here, as bad as anybody in the country. So he's done a great job, along with the other coaches, of flipping that roster over to play like they did tonight and like they did most of the season.
Lane, the Luke Altmaier part of this, kind of going off what Neil said a little bit there, but did you see enough from him tonight where you would be confident in him being your future starting quarterback?
Yeah, again, that's a very difficult situation for any backup quarterback, especially a freshman, to go into in a Sugar Bowl versus a really good defense. And it's not like we were lighting it up before he went in. We were struggling before. So I don't think we did a great job, game planning, and I thought they did a great job, and, I thought it showed up. They outcoached us today on that side of the ball. And Dave's done that to a lot of people, including myself at times.
Well, I'll tell you what, Shane, it's going to be the SEC winning them another one here in a couple days, because once again, Alabama, Georgia meeting in Indianapolis. We'll have a lot to preview of that before the game arrives. But, man, long recap here. A lot of action in the SEC over the weekend. You got anything before we end this one?
Nope. Just, again, ACC refs suck, but other than that, it's good to have the SEC winning the national championship again. And I don't know, man. We had some great football, brother. I did, the good news was I got to soak a lot of that up because I couldn't go anywhere. But you know what I'm saying? It was every minute of it I watched. So I love it. Another year is almost in the books, but I think it's going to end on an epic national championship game that if you think you know exactly who's going to win, you don't know shit, because I think this is coming down to the wire, Mike. This is going to be a pick 'em, and it's going to be a fun-fought football game.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, brother, I appreciate you hopping on the line. I appreciate each and every one of you for checking us out. We're going to have tons and tons and tons of guest interviews in the days and weeks ahead. So, hey, the season may be winding down, but we ain't slowing down just yet.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it, and we'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols.